Ethan sat alone in the corner booth of the cozy cafe, a single rose lying on the table beside his untouched coffee. The hum of conversations around him only amplified his loneliness. It wasn't his first blind date, but tonight felt heavier somehow. Maybe because this time, he'd actually hoped it would work. He checked his watch again. 7:45 p.m. His date, Clara, was 20 minutes late. He scrolled through her messages, cheerful, witty, and promising. But the screen stayed silent now. He sighed, pushing the rose aside. Just as he stood to leave, a small voice stopped him. "Are you waiting for Clara?" He turned to see a little girl, maybe 7 years old, with chestnut curls and a bright red scarf. She held a sketchbook in one hand and a cup of hot chocolate in the other. Ethan frowned. "Excuse me, how do you?" She smiled innocently. "She told me to give you a message." Ethan's heart skipped. "Clara, where is she?" The little girl's eyes softened. "She said you'd know what this means." She opened her sketchbook to a drawing, a man sitting alone with a rose, and beside him, a smiling woman in a blue dress holding the same flower. Ethan's breath caught. That was exactly what he'd imagined their first meeting would look like. "Where did you get this?" he asked quietly. The girl looked down. She said, "She can't come tonight. But she wants you to stay. Just a little longer." Ethan froze. Something about the way she said it, soft, almost sad, sent chills down his spine. Before he could ask more, the little girl turned and walked toward the cafe door. "Wait," Ethan called. "Who are you?" She looked back once, her big brown eyes glistening. "I'm her daughter." And then she was gone. Ethan sat back down, staring at the drawing the little girl had left behind. His mind raced. Her daughter. But Clara's profile had said she didn't have children. He flipped the paper over. There was handwriting on the back, delicate, almost trembling. "Greater than, sometimes love arrives in unexpected ways. Don't leave just yet." The words struck him deep. He didn't know whether to laugh or worry. Maybe this was an elaborate prank, or maybe something else. The waitress approached. "Everything okay, sir?" Ethan nodded absently. "Did you see a little girl come in? Red scarf." The waitress frowned. "No, sir. We haven't had any children in tonight." He blinked. "You're sure?" "Yes. Just you." A strange unease crept over him. He looked around, no sign of the child. Yet the drawing was still in his hands, real and vivid. He decided to wait. He ordered another coffee and watched the window, hoping Clara might still appear. Minutes passed. Then, as he stirred his drink, something fell out of the sketchbook, another folded paper. He opened it. Inside was a photo. A woman in a blue dress, the same one from the drawing. She was laughing, standing beside a man he didn't recognize. But behind her, written faintly in the corner, were the words. "Greater than, for Ethan, from Clara." His heart thudded. How could this woman know him if they'd never met? And why did the handwriting seem so familiar, like a name he had seen years ago? He searched his memory, and suddenly it hit him. Clara was the name of his high school sweetheart. The one who had vanished after an accident 10 years ago. The cafe suddenly felt colder. Ethan left the cafe, clutching the drawing and photo. The night air stung his skin as he stepped into the dimly lit street. He couldn't stop replaying the little girl's words. "She said you'd know what this means." He walked aimlessly, ending up in front of the old city park. The place where he and Clara used to meet as teenagers. Memories flooded in, laughter, promises, dreams that never came true. Then he saw it, a figure sitting on the park bench. A woman in a blue dress. He froze. It couldn't be. He walked closer, heart pounding. The woman turned her head slightly, revealing the same gentle smile from the photograph. "Clara," he whispered. She looked up, and in that moment, he felt both joy and disbelief. She hadn't aged a day. "I told her you'd come," she said softly. Ethan's throat tightened. "Who?" "The little girl." Clara nodded. "Our daughter." He shook his head. "That's impossible. Clara, you died in that crash." She smiled sadly. "I know." Ethan stepped back, his pulse racing. "This isn't real. I'm dreaming." Clara reached out, her hand trembling. "Maybe it doesn't have to be real. Maybe it's just what you needed to remember, that love doesn't end." Tears burned his eyes. "Why now?" "Because you never said goodbye," she whispered. And she, our daughter, never got to meet you. Ethan felt his knees weaken. Our daughter. Clara nodded again, her image starting to fade. Her name is Lily. She found you because I wanted her to know her father's heart. The world dimmed. Ethan blinked, and the bench was empty. Only the red scarf lay where she'd been. The next morning, Ethan woke up in his apartment, the drawing and scarf on his bedside table. He didn't remember how he got home. He tried to convince himself it had been a dream, but when he picked up the scarf, he could still smell the faint scent of jasmine, Clara's favorite. He went to the cafe again that day, hoping for answers. The waitress greeted him nervously. Sir, about last night, there was a little girl. Ethan's eyes widened. You saw her. The waitress nodded. She came back after you left. She asked me to give you this. It was a sealed envelope. Inside, a note read. Greater than, thank you for waiting. Mom says you can stop now. She's happy. And beneath it, a small key. There was an address written faintly on the envelope, Cedar Grove Cemetery. Locker 27. Ethan's hands trembled as he drove there. The cemetery was quiet, blanketed in fog. He found Locker 27, a small memorial box. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a letter and a tiny locket. The letter read, Greater than, if you're reading this, it means Lily found you. I never stopped loving you, Ethan. I wanted her to know who her father was, kind, patient, and strong. Now, please, live again. He opened the locket. Inside was a picture of Clara holding a baby, and beside them, his own photo, taken years ago. Tears streamed down his face as the wind whispered through the trees, soft, almost like Clara's voice. Weeks passed. Ethan started painting again, something he hadn't done since Clara's death. His first painting was of the cafe window, with a man and a woman sitting together, holding a rose. One evening, as he locked up his studio, he heard a knock. When he opened the door, no one was there, just a small red scarf tied to the handle and a single rose on the step. A soft giggle echoed down the hall, fading like a melody carried by the wind. Ethan smiled through his tears. Good night, Lily, he whispered. He placed the rose in a vase by the window. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and blue, Clara's favorite colors. For the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone. He didn't need to see her again to know she was there, in every brushstroke, every sunset, every heartbeat. And sometimes, when he painted late at night, he'd hear that little voice again. She said you'd know what this means. Ethan would smile, pick up the brush, and whisper back. I do.